So, we're up to Vahoinyan, right? A few lines after Dalit, but it's a new topic over here. Um, the Rebbe is discussing that number one, the Chlal, Torah mitzvahs comes down to this world. So the fact that Torah mitzvahs comes down into the world, that's sort of a kind of a zeriya, that's sowing it into the Gashmis, into the physical world. But the Rebbe explained that actually Vayizra Yitzchak is actually the fact that the Avoida, the Nefesh Elikis, works with the Nefesh Abahamis, and um, and that's an additional Vayizra. So when it says Vayizra Yitzchak, it really talks about dressing up the nefesh alikis in the nefesh abahamis to be mevarer it. Memela, says the Rebbe, the result that we're learning in the pasuk vayimtza meya sha'arim is not because the Eibishter gave this meya sha'arim just like doing a mitzvah. It is specifically because vayizra Yitzchak. Because Vayizra Yitzchak, he sowed, he invested the koiches of the nefesh elikis to sort out by when he doing mitzvahs and sorting out nefesh abahamis. So this was a reward for the zriya because the growth comes from the sowing. So this Meir Sha'orim that he found over there is a growth that comes through the zriya. What is this, the Meir Shorim? That's what we're going to learn now. What is the Meir Shorim? What is 100 gates? So 100 basically is 2 times 50 because Bina is associated with the number 50. We know there's Chamishim Share Bina, there's 50 gates of Bina. 100 is 2 times 50 because in Bina we're going to learn there is two levels in Bina. There is Yovel and Sitra de Yovel. That's the Bina itself. And then it's what Bina is Mamshich, that from Bina comes the Midas. The way it works is Chochma Bina are Av ve'em. And from the Bina comes for reflection and meditations comes Midas. So you have, so that basically means that from the Bina it transfers into the midos. So you have the level of midos of bina, the way it's in level of meichin, and then you have the level of bina as it's mamshich to come down from the reflection. He gets emotionally involved. He thinks about loving Hashem, so he starts to love Hashem. So that's the part of bina which comes uh, to the emotions. So that's called the sitra de Yevla. That's the second level in Yevla. The Rebbe is also going to talk. There is various different interpretation in the different levels of 100 in Bina. Also milmata l'mayla, milmayla l'mata, as the Rebbe will say later on, and the Rebbe also talks about the chlal within Bina itself. We're talking about the 50 gates. A gate is at the end in a courtyard. You go out of the house, and then there's the yard, and then you go out through the gate. The gate means the furthest place. So, Bichlal, when we're talking about the gates, we're talking about the outside of Bina. Let's look inside and we'll see how the Rebbe explains this. Inyanhu, the idea is, as explained in the Maimer, the Meyo Sheorim Heim Chamishim Shari Bino Shteipam. What does it mean, Meyo Shorim? He found Meyo Shorim. He got the level of Bina, but the level of Bina twice, 2 times 50. V'inyan hu, the idea is the Bina shtei madregas bechlos. Generally speaking, Bina has 2 steps, 2 levels. It has the level which is called Yovel. As you know, Yovel is the 50th year. That's 50. But you also have the Sitra de Yovel, the side of Yovel. That's a another level within Yovel, which means there is Bina, and then there's also this Sitra of Bina, which comes from Bina. Rebbe explains, Yovel hu ha-Bina atzma. Yovel is Bina itself. The Sitra de Yovla, but the side of Yovel, who loy ha-Bina atzma. It's not Bina itself. V'rak ma shenimshach mimeno. It is only that which comes from it, which means it extends from Bina, that part that extends from Bina into the Midas, that's called the Sitra, the Yovla. That's the extension of Bina. And this is what we say, 50 gates of Bina twice. 50 sha'arim shemisitra diyovlo, 50 gates of the sitra diyovlo, that's the extension of Yovel. V'chamishim sha'arim diyovel atzma, and 50 gates of Yovel itself. That's why we get a total of Meya. So basically what we're saying, that he brought down the Hamshoche from the level of Bina, but both the level of 50 from Sitra D'Yovlo, that's Nimshach, and also Yovel itself, which is also 50. Why are they called Sharei Bina? Why are they called gates of Bina? That also tells us that within Bina itself, the whole idea of a gate, even before we start talking about 2 times 50, but where is the level of Sha'arim? It's towards the outside of Bina. That's outside of the level, because a gate is on the outside. It's explained elsewhere. What is the meaning? Explaining what the Nun Sharei Bina. The Kemoy Sheshar Kipshute, who besoif hachotzer, shal yode yotzim l'chutz, just like a gate, literally, is at the end of the courtyard. Through the gate, al yode yotzim l'chutz, you go outside. Meaning a gate is positioned all the ways, almost at the outside. From it, you go to the outside. Similarly, it is as it is connects to the idea of the 50 gates of Bina. Why? That means sheheim bedarga tachtoino de Bina. They are at the lower level and the lowest step of Bina. Shal yodom nimshach haseichel. Through them, through these gates. They are the gates through which Seichel goes through to the Midas. Seichel in of itself is for the person. To have this Seichel go down to the Midas, that means the Seichel is leaving, going outside. It's going through the gate to the outside. The Hamshochas HaSeichel b'Midas, when the seichel extends to the midas, hu yitzia lechutz mehaseichel, that's going outside of the intellect. You have the intellect, that's your idea. But when the idea turns into an emotion, so then it's going outside of the seichel. So based on this, we can say, since we're saying that even Chamishim Sharei Bina to begin with, here we were saying it seems like that the second level, the Sitra D'Yovlo, that's the outside. But right now, in the biur that it's called a gate, it means that to begin with, when we talk about the Sha'arim of Bina, we're talking about the last level of Bina to begin with. That's where Sha'arim is. So the Rebbe explains, so based on this we can say, Shagam chamishim hasha'arim b'yovel atzmoi, that also the 50 gates in Yovel himself, hein b'moichin hashayochim lemidus. They are also in the moichin that have a connection to midas. Within the intellect, you can have the intellect as it's connected only to the intellect. And then you have the intellect as it connects to the midas. But yet, then, in this moichin itself, in the moichin that have a connection to midas, there are two steps. We have Hasha'arim, the Mesitra, the Yevla. You have those gates which are from the side of Yovel, the extension. Shehem Mokir Mamish Lemidis. They are actual source for the Midis. The Sitra the Yevla means the part of Yovel which becomes an actual source for Midis. How is it explained? So the Rebbe gives a example, K'moi Hatoyas HaSeichel. That would be when the intellect is tilted. In other words, you have sometimes your mind, your seichel tilts seichel hamate klape chesed, v'seichel hamate klape gvura. You have an intellect which tilts you for chesed, and the intellect that tilts you for gvura. That tilting is still in the mind. That's still in the moichin. That's not midas yet. It's a tilting. That's considered an actual, that's sitra de yevla, because there is already a tilting of the mind towards chesed or towards gevura. So that's the sitra de yevla. V'hash'orim de yevel atzmai. So what's the gates of Yovel itself? Sheheim ba'seichel atzmai shelemailam hatoy lemidas. They are within seichel itself, which is still above, higher than tilting towards midas. So that's the level of shorim itself. So, but it's not yet tilted. It's not yet. It's still a gate. But why is it gates? We're saying the gates as for the outside. We're saying that the shar is on the outside. So the inyan hasha'orim shemoira al yitzia l'chutzu. So what is the idea that it's by the gate? It's sharei bina. They show that going outside. We're saying that even with regards to bina itself, the nun sharei bina. Those are the 50 gates. Why are they sha'orim? Why are they gates which point going outside? Who? Kiklolus seichel zeh, but it's not yet tilted. Tilted is sitra the yevla, but the yovel itself. Why is it by the gate? Kiklolus seichel zeh, because this seichel in general, when we're talking about the shari bina, in the gates bin hush seichel sheshayich lemidis, it's a seichel that has a connection to midis. There is an intellect, which is pure intellect, has no connection to any emotion. The Shari Bina is a connection, is a seichel that has a connection to emotions. However, there's no emotion, there's no tilting yet there, but it's an intellect that has a connection to emotion. But the Sitra de Yevla, that's when there's actually a tilting within the level of Bina. So the Rebbe explains that this Meya Sha'orim, that he found, that he got through his Riyah, was that he got the level of Bina. And the Bina is called 100 because there is two levels of Bina. There is Yovel and Sitra de Yevla, the way, and he received these two levels, it turns to 100. 2 times 50 is 100. And he explained that Bechlal, the whole idea of Sha'orim, shows that it's going to the outside. That's what a gate is. But within that itself, the Yuvla, Sitra, the Yuvla, the outside, that's already the way there is a tilting within Bina. That's already the Midas, the tilted within Bina. And the level of Shari Bina, that's just because it's a seichel which is shaykh to the Midas. That's why through there you go to the Midas, as opposed to being a seichel which is not connected, which is entirely by itself. And now the Rebbe brings down from the Maimer and I say another explanation in the 50 Shari Bina, which is depends the Shari Bina. There is the level the way they come milmaila lemata. That means that from the level of Bina it goes down below. There's 50 gates, so it comes down through 50 gates. But there's also the level milmata lemaila in which you bring up to Bina, which goes also to those 50 gates. So those 50 gates are used for both, for coming from the level of Bina and also returning. That's why we have 100. Hey, the Maimer, he continues another explanation. Why we have 50 Shari Bina twice, Sheheim, Bishnei Haifanim, the Milmato Lemailo, Umilmailo Lemato. That this 50 is the two directions, the two ways. The direction of Milmato Lemailo, going from below to above, reaching up and elevating yourself to the level of Bina. You go through the 50 gates of Bina. And also Milmailo Lemato to Hamshocha, that comes from Bina to be Nimshach, further out into the lower levels, goes through the 50 gates. And he brings a pasuk, the pasuk that we say in davening of Divrei Hayomim, Aleph. Over there, the pasuk says, there's 2 times 50. The word lecha equals 50, lamed and chof. The word chol, also 2 letters the other way around, also equals 50. In the pasuk over there, these levels are hinted milmailo lamato and milmato lamailo in the word lecha and the word kol. Let's look inside. Like the pasuk says, lecha havaya. So lecha havaya, to you Hashem, is gedula. Gedula is considered chesed. Gevura, that's chesed. Gevura, tiferes, netzach, hoid. And then it says ki koil bashamayim avoras. Ki koil. So both the first word in the pasuk lecha is 50, and ki koil is also 50. Lecha bigematria nun. Lecha has the numerical value of nun. The kol bigematria nun, and kol has the gematria of nun. Now, what's the 50 lecha and the koil, which are gematria nun? Bechlal, spheres are 6 spheres we have. But in a more general way, we talk about 5 spheres. The main spheres is 5 times 10, because each of the spheres is 50. So we have chesed, so this lecha Hashem, so we're saying these are the 5 midos. Gedula gvura, tiferes, netzach, v'hoid, shem ikre hamidos. Those are the main midos. That's why we have 5 midos. The yisoid is not considered of the main midos. So that's what we're saying, lecha. So the main midos, shekol achas mem klula meyud. Each one is included of 10. So 5 times 10 is 50. So, but the order is lecha Hashem, which we say the level of the midos is the way we start from the top. From we start Hagdula Chesed Gevura is lecha havaya. That's lamed chav the 50. V'koy shekol shelecha hu mil mato lemailo. That's from below, from above to below. Lecha Hashem Hagdula Hagvura v'Tiferes, going from Chesed Gevura down. Tiferet lemailo v'chol, and when you say kikoil, that's milmato lemailo. Milmailo v'koil. I messed it up. Just verkehrt. Lecha is hu milmata lamailo. We're saying to you, we're going up milmata. It comes the first word lecha, but lecha is going up because we're saying lecha to you, and we're going up. That's going up milmata lamailo. But v'chol is milmailo lamata. That's the same 50. Chof lamed is 50. But that's the 50, the five midos, the way it goes from above to below. The Rebbe will also explain the word lecha and kol in a minute. Why do we choose? The Rebbe explains. The ba'aliyas hamidas l'shorsham. Because when they go up, the 50, the midas, when they go up to bina, or they go up to their source, hen bebittel, they are subjugated. They're lecha she'enam teifsim mokim. They don't take up any space. They're bottle in their source. That's why it's lecha. So what does it mean lecha? Lecha means to you that they're bottle, they're a level of bittel. She'enam teifsim mokim, lecha Hashem. That's when the elevation of the midas, gdula, gvura, tiferet, nesach, ahyd, when they're going up, it's lecha. But when they come from above to below, and what does it mean? Where do they come? Because we were just talking about the five midas, but then we have also kikoil bashamayim avoros, that kikoil means the level of yisoid, as we learned in the previous mimer as well. So, ba'ad, when it comes down milmayla lamata, the ikrei ha-midas, ba'ad shenimshachim b'midas ha-yisoid, till they come down to the measure of yisoid, because that is kikoil bashamayim uvared. The kikoil is the spheres ha-yisoid. And we learned earlier, because yisoid is connected with bina, with the chamishim, as we learned in the previous mimer. But they extend milmayla lamata till kikoil bashamayim uvared. Shal yidei zeh heim nimshachim achakar b'malchus. And then through coming to Yisoid, then later on, they come to the Malchus. That's why the pasuk continues. But this whole Hamshocha, Heim B'chinas Mitzias. They are an entity. It's not the battle. It's not like Lecha going higher. It's going lower. The lower they go, they become a bigger Mitzias. Not only are they a Mitzias, V'yiseirim is more than this. Shem nirgoshim lemitzias b'shleimus. They feel themselves as a complete mitzias. They say kikol kol al derech yesh li kol. Similar to what he said, I have it all. He didn't need the gift that he was given him, that Esav wanted to give him. He says he has it all. So that represents a level of mitzias. The Rebbe explains over here that from the Maimer, that the 50 and 50 represent the two directions that the midas go. The five midas, that's 50. Koil and lecha. Lecha is the level when the midas go up, they come a level of bittel. That's the level of lecha Hashem Agdullah. Then we have the hamshocha when it comes down till Yisoid, to Malchus, then it's a level of mitzias. And that's why it's not just a mitzias, that's why the level is kikol. Kol means all, I have it all. That's a level of mitzias, strong mitzias. The level of lecha is a level of bittel. That's the level going up. So here we explain now the chamishim shari bina. We explained this, that it goes in the directions which either it brings down the midas lower, or the midas are elevated up. Those are through the gates of the Chamishim Sharei Bina. So now the Rebbe wants to explain that within the midas itself, here we're just saying two directions. We talked about in Bina, we talked about there were two levels, Yovel and Sitra de Yovel, which means the extension of Bina and Bina itself. And then when we're talking about the midas over here, he's talking about 2 times 50, he's talking about directions, one going up and one going down. 50 and 50 comes to 100. And a difference of Lecha and Koel. But now the Rebbe wants to say that there's actually, within the midas itself, there is 2 levels. Just like by Moichin, there's 2 levels, besides direction, but there's also 2 levels. V'yesh loymar, the Kemoi shebe Moichin, Bina. Just like in Moichin, which is the level of Bina. Inyan shtei pa'amim chamishim. Ushtei madreges. Over there, 2 times 50 is not directions. Over there is 2 times 2 different levels. Yoivla and Sitra de Yoivla. Which means, HaKamoichin kemoi sheshayachim lemidos. The moichin as they are connected to midos, which is Mesitra de Yoivla, and moichin mitzad atzman, and moichin themselves. These are the 250s that we talked about before. Similar is also to the 2 times 50 were midas. When we say that it's 250, there's 2 levels there. The noise of lahabir, in addition to the explanation, shem shnei efanim milmata l'mayla milmayla l'mata, that these are 2 directions going from below to above and from above to below, and that's why there's 250s. Yesh loymar shem gam beis madreges. We can say, the Rebbe adds that these are actually 2 levels also there. There is hamidos k'moi shem mitzad atzmam, the midas themselves. So we're pure midas. In the intellect, we talk about intellect itself and the intellect as it's connected to midas. The same thing is by midas. There is the midas themselves, and there is the midas as they relate to the moichin. Hamidas kimei shehem mitzad atzmam, midas as they're on their own, ukemoi shehem nishochim al yidei haseichel, and the way the midas extend from the seichel. The midas, while we say that they come from Bina, they have an independent life by themselves. There is one level, the way Bina, which the midas are midas, not as a result from Bina, not nimshach from Bina, but just midas themselves. And then you have in midas the level of midas which comes from moichin. Just like by moichin we say there's moichin be'etzem, and there is the moichin that is nimshach to the midas. The same thing is in midas. We have midas be'etzem, and then we have the midas the way they come from the level of moichin. Ubishtei halashoinas the loch v'kol, and also these 2 languages in the pasuk by midas that we say lecha, and we also use the lashon of v'kol. Merumozim shnei efanim shebemidas, and that explains the 2 ways that are in midas. Midas by itself, these 2 types in midas, which is 2 things over here. The Maimer said that the Rebbe quoted says milmayla lamato milmata lamayla, and the Rebbe is adding, but it also talks about 2 levels in midas: the level of midas as is by itself, and the level of midas as it is nimshach from the moichin. Shnei efanim, shnei alshin lach v'koil merumozim shnei efanim shebemidas. The 2 ways of midas, which is directions, Hello, milmata l'mayla v'amshocha milmayla l'mata, bringing up from below to above, and also bringing down from above to below, canal, that we quoted from the Maimer. But also, v'gam beis hamadreges shebemides, also the two madreges in the midas. The Rebbe will try to explain in the next paragraph, in the end of the Ois, the Rebbe explains these two aspects that really midas have a higher source even than moichi. It's not the pshat that midas are lower than moichi because they come from moichi. There's two parts. Midas develop through moichi. In other words, moichi initiates and brings them out. But really, there is midas on their own, and midas on their own could be even from a higher level, as the Rebbe will continue to explain, and will be mamshich later on. Okay.
Thank you very much.